Welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and today I have a very esteemed guest with me. One of probably my best friends in the media world of golf. If you have not been living under a rock, you know him from Inside the Ropes. Dennis Paulson's with us. If you have been living under a rock, former tour player. He was so good he actually won on tour. Not a lot of tour players can say that. But one of the nicest, generally one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Has done wonders for us at Par for Success, and just me personally, giving me opportunities. You are the only PGA Tour pro that has ever broken my website twice. Not once, but repeat, two-time winner.
My brother from another mother had something to do with that too.
He did. Carl did as well. But Dennis, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you on.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Fitty, man. You're the best. And I know I'll get emotional at some point, but I didn't expect I'd get it you really put me up on a pedestal, man. I appreciate that.
I think a lot of times people outside the ropes, as it were, I'll use that line, in terms of the particular like fitness business or building business, people, they see Par for Success. They don't necessarily always know the story behind it. Right. So for us, I basically early on realized I was not a good employee. I needed to do my own thing. Loved golf. I was like, hey, I think I can do things better than the way things are being done. And so we did a ton of research. Right. And just like in high school, people don't really like the nerds. They're not very popular in the early days, right? And so we had all this research, and this is probably 18, 19. So it's probably 4 or 5 years ago, right? Where we had the research, and I was literally just I was emailing people, just trying to find somebody that would be interested to share it with the world. And you and Carl were like one of the first guys that were like, yeah, sure, let's come on, let's chat about it. And I'll never forget, we go on. I told everyone in the office at that point, we had like 5 people on our team, right? We've got like 50 now. And I go, yeah, I get to go on the radio. They're like, oh my God, it's amazing. So we go on the radio. We talk about the overspeed research, and you and Carl are talking about it and just intrigued. And literally, I don't think I was on more than like 5 minutes, and I'm getting taps on my shoulder while they're like, dude, did you not pay the website bill? Like the website's up. But you guys literally were one of the like truly bigger moments early on that really kind of like opened the floodgates to us of like, oh my God, people really do want to hear this. And this isn't a great avenue and a venue to do it. And, fast forward 4 or 5 years later, and the amount of people that we've been able to help, not just, through, Inside the Ropes and the Sirius PGA Tour radio platform, but all over the world through lots of other platforms and the doors it's opened. You, Carl, Breeder, you guys are a big part of our origin story here at Par for Success. So it's an honor to have you on, and I hope everyone listening, I want them to know how much we appreciate you and Carl and the opportunities you've given us. And but just it's fun to be on the other side of the mic with you.
Well, I appreciate that. And the thing is too, is that I was kind of a jerk in the beginning. I mean, where did I wait like 8 months before I was kind of waiting until I moved, I was getting ready to move to Texas, and it's like, yeah, I'll get around to it. And my story, I had a trainer once, and I didn't get hurt training. I still had problems, and I was more fit, no question about it. I was more flexible, but were we doing all the right things? Because we didn't really do what you do, where you really find out what areas are I call them anchors. You call them something else, but what's your anchor? Why, what slows you down in your golf swing? Well, I have the ability to swing a golf club a lot harder than a person that is my same age, my same body type, might have the same flexibility. And you guys say this all the time, that almost every tour player that you have has outlier numbers. They swing 10 miles an hour faster. Their ball speeds are a lot faster. We hit it out of the center of the club face a lot more. It's what we do. The average guy, I play with a lot of guys that swing it harder than me, but they don't have their driver quite dialed in, and they come into the ball a little steep, and it's just not right. They just don't do it. They don't hit it right out of the middle and compress the golf club. But when you told me that my body type, I should only swing at 92 miles an hour, or I'm going to hurt myself, and I was swinging at 110, I go, well, that's a Ferrari with bald tires, bro. That's not good. And I'm not that great a driver. So I got some issues here. And that's why I was breaking down. And I kept, on the show, I'd say all the time that I just really hate golf. But I didn't hate golf. I hated the way I felt afterwards, but I didn't know it until after going through this. And dang you, because it literally took 3 or 4 days before I go, this is different. I'm
Yeah.
not better, but I'm feel a heck of a lot better. Like I'm better, but I'm not fixed. Right.
Right.
And I'm still not fixed. We're always going to be at my age now. That's a sad thing about it. We do a lot. I'm not an athlete like I was as a kid. If I fall down at 20 years old, you just kind of tuck and roll and you get up and it's no big deal.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
62, if I fall down, we might have to check for a broken hip or
Yeah.
a broken forearm. I mean, my
Whole
whole
different
goal right
conversation.
now, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's true. But it's like my whole goal right now is the fitness that I do. Like I throw myself down at the stairs to do a push up, and I
Mhm.
do that every single day. I do push ups on the stairs, but I literally throw myself to catch myself, because if I go down, you want to be able to catch yourself. That's preventative injury
Yeah.
mechanism that I'm trying to do, and that's what a lot of people. My mom's fallen twice now at 83, and she didn't even have the chance to put her hands out, and boom, right on her head.
Yeah.
She's completely good. Thank goodness the old Link, her my mom's maiden name, the Link hard-headed German that she is, didn't hurt herself.
Yeah. That's
Some
awesome.
stitches, but it's all good. But that's the thing. I mean, as you get older, it's that mechanism of just trying to keep yourself from getting hurt if you stumble and fall. Where
Yeah.
the other person reacts and I just put a foot forward. I didn't fall. The other person just goes, "Oh no, here we
Yeah.
go."
Oh, there you go, going down. But I think that's the big thing that you were no different than a lot of the guys that were able to help, and that there's a multi benefit, right? There's the golf side, and for a lot of the people that we help, golf is I don't know, called the catalyst of why they will say, hey, you know what? It's funny, guys, their back hurts when they wake up in the morning. They can't sit in the car for more than 2 hours without it hurting. That won't be the reason why they call. It's going to be because they're hooking their driver, and and
Your
their
body won't
pro
let
says
them.
it's yeah, their pro says that's because you're not getting your left side. You should probably go get your hip looked at.
Right.
And but I think that's the coolest thing for me about what we do, and what I'm honestly the most proud of for all of what we do is we use golf as a vehicle to help people feel better just in their daily lives. And it's, we have the home assessment that we always talk about, and there's, tools that we give out there, like the safe swing speed tool that you said, came back for you at 92 and you're swinging 110, and oh, maybe that's why my back is not feeling
Yeah,
so
you
great.
think?
um, I think that's one of the really cool things for us. And I'm curious, Dennis, with as obviously you have guys that you played with, when you were on tour, and they've all aged right along with you.
Mhm.
As they've aged, and as you watch the guys, even the senior tour players now, like what are some of the physical changes that you've noticed in them, or just in talking with them, or and even in yourself as you've gotten older, that you've kind of had to adapt, or didn't have to think about maybe when you were 20, 30, but you do now?
Well, all the guys that are my age, or most of the guys that are my age aren't playing a whole lot of golf now because I'm 62. There's very
Yeah.
few of them. But the guys that I played with that were 10 years younger than me that are just now going to the Champs Tour, that after the round of golf we'd go have a beer. Now they're going to the gym and they're
Yeah.
spending time in the gym because they realize that no matter how good my golf is, I'm one swing away from not being able to play or be out and be down. And it's so important because our bodies go the other direction as we get older. And I mean, I could look at weights when I was 20 years old and get stronger. Now I can move all kinds of weight and I don't really get any stronger. I just try to stay dead level. It's like, should I take testosterone? What should I do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not playing. I could take any kind of drug I wanted to because I'm not playing professionally anymore. What can I do to kind of just let my body try to be younger, literally.
Right.
What can I do? And that's the part of it. But I think that's all these guys that are successful out there. Ernie talks about it all the time. He'll still have his beers and do those things, but the fitness and the stuff that he's done in the gym, and he's been pretty blessed.
Yeah.
He's not really had too much of an injury prone career. Carl's had what, 4 surgeries? I've had 2 surgeries, one on my shoulder, one on my knee. My back is, they look at the MRIs and they can't figure out why my back slips out all the time. My dad
Yeah.
said he had some fungus on there, that it was there and it slipped out. And I go, that's a bunch of BS. That's just what he said.
Yeah.
Every time I mention that to somebody, they go, I've
Yeah.
never heard
Yeah.
that before.
Never heard that one.
So,
Yeah.
but it's probably some sort of hereditary deal because, every single doctor that's looked at my back in the MRI said, dude, you could be an accountant and not a golfer. There's
Yeah.
not anything really bad down there.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I have a tendency to just have it slip, and
Yeah,
I call it a micro slip. I don't even know, that's just what I call it, and when I came to you, it wasn't about golf. It was about
yeah,
being cool, and I say that for a reason, and you can use this if you want. Quality of life is cool, and that's
that's cool.
really what it was all about. And now that I'm feeling pretty good, and I've got a 25-pound grandson that I'm moving around, and it's
Yeah,
like, whoops, probably shouldn't do that
yeah,
fully extension over here, but now I could use him and do some RDLs and stuff with him right in front of me. And
exactly. Working out and playing 2 for 1. 2
yeah,
2 birds with 1 stone. So what's, is you won in 2000, right?
yeah,
Was it 2000?
2000.
So when you're on tour and you're playing at that high of a level, I mean, the highest level there is in golf, in 2000, and then you fast forward to, 20, 25 years later, right now. What's the difference that, because I think this is a lot of things a lot of people listening don't necessarily, yeah, understand or appreciate, is how the game has changed at that level, in terms of what guys are doing, in terms of whether it's in the gym or how far they're hitting the ball, or have skills changed? People talk about they're getting longer, so the game has changed. What what as somebody who's played at that level, one at that level, what have you seen kind of that shift been the last kind of 2 decades?
Speed is the number one thing. I mean, I
Speed.
had the speed. I was one of the fastest swingers of the golf club
Yeah,
that there was, and I'd figured out something like Tiger, and Tiger was by far the best. He could swing hard and hit it straight.
yeah,
That's the thing. And he didn't hit it that straight, but he hit it pretty darn straight. The
straight it out.
equipment's so much easier now, and I don't want to take anything away from the guys,
Yeah,
but if you look at an old persimmon head, that's the same size as the first couple, metalwoods that we used back in the day, and they
yeah,
weren't very big. There wasn't a huge sweet spot. I mean, the sweet spot was pretty small, and if you didn't hit it right out of the middle, it would still go crooked. Even the persimmons, the sweet spot wasn't that great. The thing about a persimmon club number one, or a metalwood versus a persimmon head, I'd crack them all the time, and I
really.
always wanted to crack one because then it wouldn't break. Then I could fix that crack, and it'd be stronger than the actual grain because you
No way.
spin it on the grain, and
Yeah.
then it's fine. But you keep hitting it until you know it's going to break, and then it wouldn't break anymore.
Huh,
A
that's
lot of them too, because I liked the Hogan Apex 5 shaft, so
yeah.
that was a little bit bigger of a bore. So then you got
Mhm.
a thinner cover wall for that.
Yeah.
But then when we went to metalwoods, the only thing the metalwood did for me was that it was allowed you to hit the ball off the ground a lot better. The weight
Mm.
in that club was better, and it was lower CG, which was great to hit that club off the ground. But as hard as I hit it with a soft golf ball, it just went high and spun more. It wasn't really that beneficial. So you had to kind of deal with a lot of stuff. And now the golf ball and all this other stuff is kind of set up to hit that, we call it the Royal Hawaiian rainbow shot that you hit. It
Yeah.
launches and carries over as opposed to the airplane that took off and went straight
Yeah.
into the air. And, if it was into the wind, you could run out there and catch it, a little softy pop up.
Right.
I think that's really the biggest difference. But then how much better these guys had to become, because there is a difference between power and hitting it easy. And the guys that, hitting soft shots and dynamics are great until you have to hit a shot less than full. And even a dynamic 100-yard 8 iron for me, my soft 8 iron that only went 100 yards, if I'm taking 50 yards off of my 8 iron, I was still so steep and so short that it still spun like crazy because I
Mm.
was so vertical hitting hard cuts that I couldn't take it off. And now I've got a lot less lag in my iron. My arm
Yeah.
didn't have that really sharp hold on the downswing. And now I don't spin it as much. It's like, dang, that's all I had to do, but I just couldn't physically do it because I was blessed with the Rory factor, right? The Rory
Yeah.
and he's not the greatest wedge player. So
Right.
the guys that can get both is, I think, the biggest thing that's different now. Because if I got to play now healthy at my age, I would have been really good because
Yeah.
I would dealt with overspinning the golf ball, and you can't hardly overspin the golf ball nowadays with the equipment that we got. And I played a cut. The
Yeah.
guys that were really good on tour back in the day were more of the drawers of the golf ball.
Mm.
Nicholas separated himself, but the guys that were really the top players hit a lot more draws than they hit cuts. They could control it a little more because it took some of the spin off, and they could tumble it down the fairways and get it to where they wanted to go. Norman hit a lot more draws. A lot of guys, were a lot more Nick Price. Those guys
Yeah.
that were really elite players, they could hit it both ways, but they felt very good hitting a draw.
So, going back to like 2000, obviously
Right.
2000, obviously Tiger comes in, he's the peak of Tiger. And how was I started Barb Success probably 2009, 10, which is so a decade after Tiger. And even then, like the general public was like, golf, what? What are you doing?
Uh,
Like, like I had to
Golf
convince them,
specific? What?
yeah, golf specific fit. What? No, dude, we don't do that. How did, being on tour at that time, how quickly did you see other guys kind of taking the fitness seriously, or has that been kind of a 2 decade thing it's taken? What's the true kind of inside evolution of that?
This is kind of weird. You're going to love this story. So Woody, who I wish I could remember his first name, Paul Sharon was one of our trainers that we had in
Okay.
our fitness trailer. And there
Yeah.
was some weights in there, but they were mostly just dumbbells. There
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot there. There was a stack of weights that you could do, but it was mostly Versa climbers and bikes and
Okay. Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff. I don't even know back then if there was actually like a fitness ball or anything like that. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like they stretched us. That's really what they did. And then
That's
if
what
you
they
wanted
did.
to move some weight around, so they had some 80-pound dumbbells. And I grabbed these dumbbells in my rookie year on the PGA Tour to grab them out. And all I was going to do is rows on a bench. It wasn't like a ton of weight. I
Right.
mean, I worked out a lot when I was
Yeah.
younger, and I did it for one reason, to look good. I
Yeah.
literally did it just to look good. I was a surfer, liked to walk around, and I was able
Makes
to
sense.
bench 305. I never got three plates, but at 175 pounds, I could bench 305. That
305
was
at 175 is pretty stout.
yeah, it was I was pretty thick, but I had a
Yeah.
48-inch jacket is what I wore, and I was
Oh,
only
wow.
775 pounds, so I was really wide. I still am. I think I'm a 46 now, and I'm 60. But
Wow.
it's just I carry a lot of weight through here. I just
Yeah.
do. It's just what I did with the swimming and surfing and all the stuff that I did. Um, I didn't know what I was doing. I hated biceps, but I love triceps. When I
Yeah.
got to the point, tricep presses with the ropes, I had to put a weight belt on, or I'd lift myself off the bench. I mean, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
So that was just me, but it was
Yeah.
all to look at. That's
Yeah.
all it was.
100%.
And being a surfer and swimmer, you stayed pretty flexible. You didn't have to do a whole lot. So I
Right.
was pretty flexible. That wasn't a problem. And around 94, 95, which was 10 years after I got out of college, that is when my body started breaking down from all the golf, just the repetitive motion. And I kind of stopped working out a little bit. My chest was so big that I literally had to, kind of get the club this way, and my
Oh,
back
wow.
was rounded because it was so thick I couldn't
Yeah.
put my arms out because it was ridiculous. It was
Yeah.
stupid. And it wasn't gross, but there was so much thickness and tightness in my chest that I couldn't, get my club there unless I got my arm. It's just
You
like
had
a
to
lady with big breasts, they're in
yeah,
the
you
weight
gotta go
counter. They got to either go under or over.
under
They're
you, it's
there, and
one
you
or
got
the
to
other,
figure
yeah.
something out.
Yeah.
And so I had a rounded back when I played golf. I couldn't play with a flat back because I just had to bend over a little
You couldn't
more.
get it.
I don't know if that was part of the problem for my back or what. I don't think it really was. I don't think the linear movement of the back this way turning doesn't really change a whole lot. That would be something that you might think of, but
Depending how much flex or extension you have in
right.
the spine, the more extension you have, it's easier to rotate. The more flexion you have, it's a little harder. So certainly could have been a little bit of a limiting
But I
factor.
swung over my chest too, so I had a really
Right.
high arc. So,
Yeah.
it was, I was a guy, I'm short in the sense that I only got a 30-inch inseam, but I'm a 6'4" guy from the waist up. So I
Right.
have long arms. My arms are close to the ground, which is good for golf, right? It's better
Exactly.
for golf,
Yep.
centered, but I still had a big arc for a guy that was only 6 feet tall.
Right.
So that was what I was also blessed with. And I had the ability to swing a golf club really fast without it looking like it. Jake
Right.
Knapp, and Cameron Champ are two guys that it's like no way they swing that hard.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
Jake Peavy looked like he was throwing at 700 miles an hour and was coming out 94. And then
Yeah.
he had a guy, what's the tall guy that played for the Padres that was like 6'9"? That I can't remember his name right now. He's now in the front office, but
Mhm.
he looked like he was barely throwing it, but he's a
Yep.
foot closer to home plate when he lets it
Exactly.
go. And it's like that ball just got by. How did that get by me?
Yeah.
What
Yeah, exactly.
so it was all perception, really. But there are guys. Nick Faldo was the biggest guy on the PGA Tour by far, and he
Really?
couldn't hit the ball through a rice paper wall. Couldn't, and
Mhm.
he was strong, but he just didn't have that quick twitch
Yeah.
mechanism that some people are blessed with and some aren't. Now, that's a good thing in golf on the short end of it. And that's what we come back to.
Yeah.
Speed is great, but speed comes with responsibility in golf.
Mhm.
Everybody wants it. And I think the one thing that I don't know how much you're doing for the speed training because I don't really care, but it really the elbow to the wrist are really important for people because you can swing it hard, but if you can't control the golf club, and that's where you're going to be able to hold on to that golf club through that forearm to really be able to control it. Who cares if you swing it 5 miles an hour faster if it's just going more offline?
Yeah, and that's I think we look. There's a definite relationship of grip strength, kind of minimums based on speeds that you're swinging it,
Mhm.
and yeah, to your point, if you if the club's moving faster, that means something has a weight to it, and it moves faster. That means it's going to require more force to slow it down or control it, or eventually to stop it. And I think that's where we when we look at injury, like when we talk about the safe swing speed, and you come in swinging 110, and you're only physically able to swing 92. What that comes from is a combination of looking at mobility in the four rotary centers, right? Your hips, your thoracic spine, your shoulder, your neck, right? And if there's not a lot of mobility in any or all of those areas, it means you have a shorter ramp or off ramp, basically, to
Right.
slow the
Yeah.
car down,
Stop the
right?
brakes. The braking
Exactly.
mechanism is
Yep.
brutal.
And then there's also then the strength metrics, right? And we look at lower body strength, upper body strength. When people come in, in person, we've got basically things where you squeeze, and it gives you how strong each of your hands are, left versus right hand. And for a lot of golfers, actually, it's their weak hand that's
Mhm.
stronger. So like a left hand for a right-handed player and a right hand for a left-handed player, because that's what the predominant gripping is happening in the golf club. But there's definite we will see improvements in face control and those sorts of things if somebody comes in swinging really fast, and let's say their mobility is good, and but their grip strength stinks,
Right.
right? And typically a lot of times we see that the grip strength will not be as good with people who aren't as strong. So, like for instance, you use a story. I went in, I just grabbed 80 pounds, and well, to be able to hold an 80-pound dumbbell and be able to do a bunch of rows, like you got to have some grip strength. Like to hold
Right.
a rope and do a lot of triceps, like there's grip and wrist strength
Right.
that's occurring in there, right? So, I think a lot of people will, they'll get these like squeezy things, and like they don't actually create enough force resistance for you to actually get strong enough in the grip. But got and show me a golfer who deadlifts 315 who has weak grip. Like you're not
Right.
going to see that, right?
Right.
Right. So there's
Because
different
he's moved that
extremes.
weight somehow, some way he got
Yeah,
it to where
you,
he
you got you got to hold it, right?
right.
And so I think that's when we look at at a golfer. I think that's where you're looking at how fast is this person going and how fast can they control. There's different facets, and the average amateur listening, we're not really doing a ton of dynamometer testing in your grip, and because we're going to look and say like, hey man, you threw that med ball like 3 feet, like
Mhm.
your upper body's pretty weak, and so naturally the grip strength is going to get there. Now you deal with Kyle Berkshire walking in, or we just had one of the guys who was an alternate at the U.S. Open. He's up and coming pro. He was in here this morning, and like you look at those guys, we're doing dynamometer testing left and right. Like we're getting very much nitty gritty because that's going to be their livelihood, and there's
Right.
thousands and thousands of swings. But there's just so many intricacy things that are at this point kind of cool that can be measured. That back in the day, if you can speak to it, like what a fitness trainer would do. It was like, and part of it was just there was no research on it. So it was like,
Right.
hey, this is what we think is the best thing to do at this point, and you guys, and that's what they did. And the amount of information you talk about speed being the biggest difference. The biggest thing that's untalked about in the last 5 years with the big speed increases, in particular, the last 5 years, is well, that's when force plates have come out and they've become very mainstream. And the understanding of how to train speed on what I do, my side, has like it's like basically going from school only ever went to high school, and now
Mhm.
we just added a not only university but PhD level understanding
Right. Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere, and that's where you're starting to see these. The average speed of a junior golfer right now compared to 5 years ago is
It's
at least 5 miles
insane.
an hour. It's
It's
crazy.
insane. I mean, my nephew, so I've got 2 sons that are 6'3", and then my oldest nephew is 27 years old now. He played on the Palmer Cup. I mean, he's a good golfer. And his little brother, they're both like my sister and Ted aren't quite as big as I am. And so I think Trevor's right around 6 feet. He's about my height, maybe slightly less. And Drew is only 5'10", and he weighed 125 pounds. And Dylan and Trevor's really good golfer who has a lot of speed. It hits it pretty
Yeah,
far. Played D1 golf, and my son who played baseball but could still he smashes the golf ball. He's got his upper, he chips at 120 and swings at 127 if he really wants to go after one.
yeah,
But they'd have a driving contest, and then Drew would just go out there and knock it right by him. And he weighed 125 pounds. He said he weighed 130, but he always lied about his weight because he
Yeah.
was so skinny. I mean, he made Akshay look big. I mean, he is really skinny, but a really good athlete. And he'd only been playing golf for a year, but he could swing the golf club, and it didn't look like it. It was really neat. And junior golfers are unbelievable, especially if they start at a young age and they're coordinated at it. And Drew started playing baseball, and then he got into lacrosse and
Wow.
really got into lacrosse. And so he was really fast. He could move a stick real fast and do
Mhm.
that stuff. So it's really amazing. And now the fact is the club head's so big, you're not afraid to miss it. You put a persimmon head down there, just hit it solid. Is all you say to yourself.
Yeah.
I still play with hickory and persimmons sometimes, and that's all I think. I've never once taken a metal wood and go, just hit it solid.
Just hit
It's
solid.
like, how in the world am I going to miss the center of this face with this golf club?
The center's so freaking big now.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, that's as kind of we as people are getting kind of the end of their car ride. I'm curious. Just obviously, you're unique in terms of the people we've had on the show. We've had instructors, we've had
Mhm.
players that have been on that are kind of in the middle of their careers now. Being somebody who has a perspective, and obviously you're involved and you're watching it, you're announcing it. I mean, you're involved in the media of it every single day. And you obviously, I think one of the cool things I love listening when you guys are on the show, and then when somebody calls in and getting to talk to the listeners and help them out and kind of their questions. If you could kind of like talk to that average golfer listening who's 62, kind of right in your age bracket, and looking to get better at the game of golf. Maybe they're coming up on retirement or they have more
Mhm.
free time or whatever, right? What would be kind of, I guess one physical thing you'd recommend for them, and then one more technical or golf specific, on the course thing that you to help them play better golf and ultimately play it for a really long time.
Well, I think if you're a guy let's just say you're a guy, let's go with a guy that may play collegiate level, right? And then he was successful, had a family, didn't get to play as much, but now he's got some more time, and
Yep.
he's stayed pretty good. He stayed a four or something, pretty
Yep.
good. We've got 50 of those at the club that I play out of right now.
Yep.
They're in their 50s and 60s and all swinging 110 miles an hour. And fitness is the most important aspect of it. That's the thing. I mean, doing what you guys are doing now, helping these people that literally if they really want to pick up a lot of speed and they got to go through the extra weight training and all that stuff. But for a guy that already swings the club pretty good, but can't play 3 times a week, he plays on Saturdays only, and he's starting to retire and he wants to play more golf. You've got to work about, you got to figure out your body and figure out what is the thing that's not is keeping you from being able to play every day. I think that's the thing that is so important for me. And then the guy that's out there that you said at the very beginning, it's like he's upset about the fact that he can't drive for 2 hours, and he wakes up in the morning and those first 3 steps out of bed to go to the bathroom, it's like, well, I could go down here. And then once you get to the toilet, it's like, if I'm going to sit, I better aim, because once I'm
Yeah.
halfway, I'm committed. It's like all those little things that you're laughing, but you don't know yet because you haven't got there yet until it really happens. It's like, okay, I'm committed. Let's go. um,
Talk about truly being pot committed.
Right, exactly. It's truly I'm all in, baby. um, but that part of it I think is so important, and I talk about the quality of life, and it's for everyday stuff. And the stuff that I'm doing with Taylor now that's helping me is we're doing more dynamic exercise. I'm not trying to push a ton of weight. Like,
Mhm.
my RDLs, I'm doing them with 40 pounds, which
Yeah.
is nothing, it's
Yeah.
no big deal. But my hamstrings are feeling it because it's an exercise and a motion that I haven't done in a long time.
Yeah.
I'd never really worked my lower body. I never was a squatter. I got all my strength from swimming, and I got a
Mhm.
lot of strength from playing golf every day. And how many putts you read? How many
Yeah.
just doing normal squats is good. I mean, a
Yeah.
great exercise for someone that's just out there listening right now. You think your legs are pretty strong? Go put your legs at a 90 degree and put your back on the wall and see if you can get through a commercial
Yeah.
without going down. I mean, 2 minutes. That's all I'm saying. 2 minutes static at 90 degrees with your back up against the wall. And if you can do that, pretty good. If you haven't done it
Pretty
in a
solid.
while,
Yeah.
think about. I mean, guys and it's an exercise. Even if you do a lot of squats, it's not easy because you don't do static stuff. Mostly like my kids train more explosive stuff than slow stuff, and the slow stuff that I'm doing now, the 4 to 5 seconds down. motion
Mhm.
of a lot of stuff that I'm doing. It's just really neat what you guys are doing because you're I've always liked calling it muscle confusion. You
Yeah.
know, you want to train that muscle a little different all the time, and you don't need a lot of heavy weight to do it. And I think that's
No,
the
I think
thing that's so cool.
yeah, and the cool thing about, the eccentric, which is the first part of like a triphasic progression, that's one of the other research studies we did where we looked at the impact for a grown adult versus a junior. The triphasic doing the slow and doing like actually is a 50% better increase return on club head speed for an adult than a junior.
Huh.
And so that's where again training people based on their age and what they need is so important. And that's just more of our geekiness. We
Right. Well,
like to
like for me, like flies. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't want to get a lot of heavy weight, you know, and it kind of exposed stuff there. So I'm doing lightweight stuff. Like I can do, you know, I can do dumbbell presses with 40 pounds. And if I go really, really slow and
Mhm.
explosive up, I'm getting a great workout as opposed to trying to get 280-pound dumbbells on my legs and bring them
Yeah.
up here to do some presses, even if they're just inclines. I'm going to hurt myself just getting them there, even though my chest might be able to move that weight. So
Exactly. And I think and that's so important with guys as they get older is being able to adjust the tempo or time under tension. There's lots of different variables we can move and adjust so that that weight isn't going to put you at risk. That's the number one thing. Golfers are not fitness people. And so if
right,
you hurt a golfer with fitness, not going to be happy. Like
right.
worst possible thing you could do, right?
Right,
Like if they're going to get hurt playing golf. we
right,
try to we
not
try to
from
prevent that as
doing a
much as
workout.
possible. Yeah, you work out to not get hurt.
Right.
That's like the number one thing. But that's just to leave everybody with, I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to kind of get from you, just from the horse's mouth, as they say, is you were skeptical. It took you 8 weeks or 8 months right before you kind of started to do stuff. Like that is probably my biggest goal in life and professionally is to get people to like, hey, just I know I can help you. Just take the leap, do something. What was it for you that was the trigger that kind of got you to finally do those like first 3 days and you were like, oh my God, this is actually a little different. Like,
Because they were stupid little simple things, you know, and I don't want to say stupid, but you know what I mean? They were so
yeah,
simple. It's like I didn't get down on the ground and I wasn't grunting and sweating and doing anything. We were doing simple exercises that maybe for some people are different, you know,
hmm
but like how hard are wall slides? I mean, all you do is bend over as far as you can and grab your toes and try to stick your butt
yeah,
up as far as it'll go. That's all you're really trying to do. You're not sweating. You're not, you know, it's not a workout. It's just to see where you're at right now and where can you get to. The simple stuff that we're doing. I mean, taking a dowel and wrapping my arm around it and bending it backwards. I mean,
yeah,
how hard is that? There's nothing there. Now I'm doing more exercises now, but why am I doing that? Because I feel like I want 3 miles an hour more for my irons. That's all. Not for my driver. I don't care about
yeah,
that, but I'd like to be able to hit my irons a little higher for a little more speed. So you've
yeah.
got me hooked on trying to get more speed, but I'm not going to do speed training. I think I can do all that just
Just
by having
physically,
more flexibility. You
100%.
know, I was at 12 degrees with my hips to start, and I'm
hmm
up to 30 now, and we're trying to get to 40.
Yeah,
So, you know, that's huge. And if I do that, I think that'll be there because I look at my golf swing, that's that old man, that right hip, you know, just won't
yeah,
get through the golf ball anymore. And that's why I hit a draw. I can't hit a cut because I can't get my lower body to work fast enough to kind of control the golf club going through
yeah,
without it wanting to flip a little bit. So I
yeah,
just play that little slappy draw that we
yeah.
play with. But it's the thing that's so much fun right now is the fact that I played 3 days in a row about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I
hmm
wasn't feeling great when I went on this trip when we went to French Lick to go play
yeah,
3 days in a row. And I felt absolutely fine, not a single issue. Every night I did a little something, and every morning I did a little something, but I didn't do a single workout while I was there that week. There was too much going on. You had to
hmm
get up, do our show, get on the golf course, then, you know, entertain some people for a couple hours after we got
yeah.
off the golf course, go to dinner and come back. And it doesn't interfere with the quality of my life, but my quality of life has been exponentially better.
That's awesome. Well, DP, thank you for your time, man. I know you're busy, man. And, to
I
get
get to go
any
stay at a
any
table right now. That's where I'm going. So
yeah,
I'm okay here. It's 94 degrees outside. I'm sanding a dining room table for my son at his place. So
That's awesome. Well, DP, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me personally, which for everything you've done for all the listeners that have kind of taken the assessment and kind of found out where they are and where they could be. And it's been so much fun being on the other side of the mic with you.
you got it. One last thing. I got a friend of mine, and I won't use his last name, but Jimmy is 70 some years old. He's had 11 surgeries, and you know who I'm talking about. Lives
Yep.
in California.
Yep.
He reached out to me literally about a month ago, and just because we play golf together, he couldn't really play much anymore. Guy loves wine. He's a great human being.
Yeah.
And he goes, Dennis, does this really work? And I go, dude, I don't lie. I mean, it's absolutely going to be of no benefit. Any product that I talk about, I mean, if I don't talk about a product, it's not very good. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, we don't, unless it's something that we're advertising that's not, don't have anything to do with golf.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different story because some of our advertisers do, clothes are clothes, right?
Right.
They
Yeah.
fit me
Yeah.
nice. I can't guarantee they're going to fit you, but
Yeah.
there is absolutely no way that I have fudged one little bit of anything that I've said about what you're doing for me. Quality of life is everything, man.
Yeah. Really is. Well, DP, thank you so much, brother.
You got it.
It's been a pleasure having you on here. And for all of you listening, if you have not listened to Inside the Ropes, go check it out. It is from 10 to 12. It's every day, right? Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, 10 to 12
Yep, 10 to
Eastern,
12
as Fred
Eastern
Albers
time.
would say.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys are starting to do live play now during the big events during the which is really
Yeah.
cool to watch. So if you guys want a really cool, I think it's cool listening to you and Carl talk about it, just because you guys know what the hell you're talking about, and
Well, it's like a talk show with golf mixed in.
It is. It's
live
awesome.
golf mixed in.
I
It's
think it's
really
so
neat.
cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you guys definitely got to go check that out during the big events, the
So the
FedEx
big
Cup.
playoffs, we're doing it all
Yep.
the way through the playoffs. So
Yeah. So definitely check that out, everybody. And DP, thanks so much as always. Enjoyed it, my
Chris,
friend.
you're the man. I appreciate you.
Awesome. And everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us today. And we'll catch you on the next episode.